Good morning on this Friday morning. Welcome to the weekend, Pentecost weekend. We celebrate Pentecost this Sunday. Today we take another phrase in the Lord's Prayer, lead us not into temptation. What do you think about when you think about temptation? Those things which we do, which we know are wrong, but we're led into them. Sometimes we can almost minimize it and say, well, that's just the way I am. I was tempted to look at that thing. I was tempted to steal that thing. I was tempted to lose my temper. I was tempted to say those words which I regretted. But sometimes temptation can actually destroy life. Take, for instance, when someone is tempted so strongly that the temptation becomes an addiction. There's a verse in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it. Sometimes we read that verse and think it's maybe not quite as simple as that. We need prayer, we need maybe help against some of the big temptations of life. And when it comes to something like the temptation which leads us into addiction, whatever that addiction may be, then maybe we need some extra power and strength beyond our own resources. We need to cry out to God to help us. Let me share with you a testimony from the Thy Kingdom Come website. It's a story told by the Archbishop of Canterbury about someone who fell into temptation in such a serious way that he became an addict. But there's a good, happy ending to this. Let's hear this story. Then Eppie will lead us in a hymn, lovely old hymn, favourite hymn of many people, prayer that God would stay with us. But it contains these words. It says, I need thy presence every passing hour. What but thy grace can foil the tempter's power? Who like thyself my guide and stay can be? Through cloud and sunshine, Lord, abide with me.
Very often people question and debate the purpose of prayer, and they do so understandably. But when they do, I often find myself thinking of individual stories. An individual like Luke, for example. Luke is an artist and filmmaker whose drug addiction took a grip of his life in his late 20s. Luke's ambitions and relationships fell apart, and the darkest period of his life took hold. He realized he had a serious problem and tried everything within his capacity at the time to get well. Nothing worked. Unknown to him, throughout this period, his mum had been praying this very simple prayer. Please, Lord, welcome Luke and let him know you're with him. This addiction is beyond our influence. I pray you can send the right people to help, and I pray you can give Luke a second chance to do the work I truly believe you intended for him. Well, one day, a chance meeting with a stranger led him to church, except it obviously wasn't chance. On that day, Luke encountered Jesus Christ. A network of prayer and recovery groups quickly opened up to him. Now, after over 7 years of continuous sobriety, Luke is free from the terror and pain of addiction. He participates in running the recovery groups that helped him and takes the experience and hope into prisons. He's traveled the world making films, many of which are about the life-transforming love of Jesus Christ, including this one. The prayers spoken by Luke's mum and his subsequent freedom from addiction echo many thousands of life-transforming testimonies around the world. Whatever our struggles, through the confusion and the mess of the world, when life just doesn't make sense, or when it makes huge sense, so both in our darkest and in our happiest moments, Christ is with us, always. Through prayer, Jesus invites us to come alongside him, to take part. God doesn't only meet one in the depths. Christ is available to each of us. He's there for us, wherever we are, whatever our story is. That's why I invite you to join the many thousands of people that have already pledged to pray during Ascension and Pentecost, so that more people would come to know a life-transforming relationship with Jesus Christ.
Abide with me, first was not